The Las Vegas Raiders have had a decent offseason, I mean, I guess. I mean, they did sign Yannick Ngakoue, so that is at least a name that they get. But other than that, and the fact, you know, I don't know, the fact that you signed Kenyan Drake kills me. This is, I mean, the names I like. It's just the fit that I don't like. And so they got a D from me.
The way I look at the Raiders offseason is like virtually every Will Ferrell movie I've ever seen.
Okay.
The first 5 minutes is hilarious and the rest kind of sucks. I mean, some of them have been funny throughout, just not many. I'm thinking like Land of the Lost and shit like that. Yannick Ngakoue, great. Got great value on him. Got him cheaper than a lot of the other pass rushers. 2-year deal, not a ton of guaranteed money. I'm all the way in for that. Then you gutted your offensive line to sign Kenyan Drake. Neither one of those things makes sense, but when you put them together, they turn into Gary Busey. This is my second of 3 Gary Buseys in the NFL.
All right, they traded away Trent Brown, they traded Gabe Jackson, and they also traded away Rodney Hudson.
It makes no sense. They've been in the top 8 in offensive line spending for 5 years. Do you know where they're at right now?
27.
31st. You went from top 8 to 31st. They've been in the top 2-3 times.
Well, I mean, that's just that's just Mike Mayock and John Gruden showing that they have faith in the young guys that they have on the roster.
They shouldn't. That's an error in judgment.
It's an error in judgment.
Yeah, don't do that.
I mean, and they get Nick Martin, who was the starter for the Houston Texans last year at center. That's the one piece that they get, that one Band-Aid that they went to put on that offensive line, and they're not even sure that he's going to start.
Oh, he's going to start. He'll start. I mean, right now you're looking at a line that's Colton Miller, Richie Incognito, Nick Martin, Denzel Good, and Sam Young. You're missing things. You're missing all the things that made this good.
Right.
And you got Derek Carr that takes a little bit longer in the pocket than the average quarterback. He holds onto the ball. And not Deshaun Watson long, but he's still a long in the pocket guy, and that's a recipe for disaster to me. Plus, two of your 3 top targets are John Brown and Henry Ruggs. And so you take away from the offensive line, they're both deep threat guys, and you take away Carr's ability to have time in the pocket? Doesn't make any sense to me. And you do that so you can sign Kenyan Drake when you have Josh fucking Jacobs. Who, by the way, is real good. I don't know if John Gruden needs to hear that, or Mike Mayock, or who that has a Raider on their collar. Josh Jacobs is pretty fucking good. The Kenyan Drake, that's probably the worst signing of the offseason. Yeah. If there's a worse one, I can't think of what it is.
Wow, even worse than Bud Dupree? You killed that one.
It's Bud Dupree bad. Bud Dupree was longer. More guaranteed money.
Right.
I don't give money to running backs. There was one running back in this whole class that I would have given money to, and his name was Aaron fucking Jones. Outside of that, I'm good. Especially if I've got a top 8 in the NFL running back in my backfield already.
That's what made me scratch my head is you've got Josh Jacobs. He can do all of the things. And I've seen so many experts talking about Kenyan Drake coming to this team. Well, he can be the pass-catching back. I feel like Josh Jacobs can do that. But again, you get to the point with Josh Jacobs of have you run him to death already? You want to extend the life on his legs. I can understand that part. But Kenyan Drake to me is not the I wouldn't have spent money on Kenyan Drake.
I wouldn't have done it at the expense of the offensive line. And I know some people are going to say, oh, they're getting older and on and on and on. Okay, you can't wind up with Sam Young at right tackle. You can't end up counting on Denzel Good. Your opinion about those two guys aside, they're not the level of Trent Brown and Rodney Hudson. They're not as good as those guys. So your line has regressed. And the bad thing is this is not a great offensive line draft. You know, it's not like you could restock in the draft. I mean, there are guys that are, projectionable guys that I think the Raiders will end up taking 1, 2, maybe 3 of. But you're talking about a lot of growing pains. And I just can't grade that favorably. Now, like I said in their offseason preview, the defense is really good and it's really young. It hasn't been good on the field yet, but they have a lot of talent that I think is going to grow over time. I think the defense will be markedly better this year. especially with Ngakoue, who is the impact pass rusher they have needed. I'm just afraid that, especially in a division where every team in the division's gotten better, all of them. There's not one team in this division that hasn't gotten better, except the Raiders. I don't think they got better. They stayed pretty well the same, but I don't understand why you would. Some of the moves they made just seem like moves to make moves, and that doesn't make any sense to me. I can't grade that favorably.
Nelson Aguilar is no longer with the Las Vegas Raiders.
I'll give you credit for not paying him what New England did, because that was stupid.
They used the exact same amount of money that New England spent on Nelson Aguilar to get Yannick Ngakoue.
Yep, same deal. Which is stupid.
It is stupid, but he goes out and John Brown is brought in.
And I like that too. I like retaining Jonathan Hankins. There are things I like. The thing I don't like is that you gutted one of the strengths of this team. The best offensive weapon you have is who?
Darren Waller.
I would say Darren Waller. I would say Josh Jacobs is 2. Well, if your line's not good, it's kind of hard to have a tight end that couldn't block me. Because Darren Waller cannot block. He came into the league as a fucking receiver. He's 6'6", 235? He's slender anyway. He's not a good blocker. And now, what do you think you're going to do? You run him as a receiver anyway, so you don't have an inline tight end. And looking at the team in and of itself, there's a lot of Foster, Moreau, Derek Carrier, Nick O'Leary. I mean, maybe you're going to leave those guys in as a 6th blocker, but then it becomes a very compact offense, and you can't use Henry Ruggs and John Brown and Darren Waller and all of the weapons you have. That's the perk of your team. Now, the one thing I will say is if they load up on value on the offensive line in the draft, I'll take back everything I've said. I'll take Gary Busey back, and I'll put him somewhere else.
I went D just because of the Yannick Ngakoue signing. I thought the Yannick Ngakoue signing was so good that it outweighed all the bad that has happened for this Raiders team this offseason.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Yannick Ngakoue, I would have gone full Joe Exotic. So, and his face didn't fit in right there that well.
Right.
His little eyebrow ring that was hanging on for dear life, you couldn't get the full effect of that. With
the problem that I have with the Raiders is that you're in a division where everybody else, everybody else seems to be growing. They're either at the top, like the Kansas City Chiefs, or they're the Chargers and the Broncos, who I think have improved over what they brought in last year with, opt-outs and keeping guys and Denver bringing in Kyle Fuller. I think the Chargers and the Broncos got much better than they did last year, and now you've got the Raiders just sitting there. They're staring at the bottom now?
I don't know. I think beyond Kansas City, it's a dogfight for second. I think it could be any of the 3 of them. I want to see. Mayock, you were brought in. You were me. You were a higher level me. You're a draft analyst that did mercenary work. You need to prove that. I mean, and he's hit on some guys. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Max Crosby. I like Jonathan Abrams a lot. I'm not as down on Damon Arnett as everybody else is. He's done good things. Now you need a really good draft.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Sportsocracy here on YouTube. You'll know every time that we have new content coming out. And as always, we are live in the Wicked Weed studio. WickedWeedBrewing.com.